Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so good news on the Laker front. From what I understand, LeBron James may be willing to take a pay cut upon his next contract. Of course, he opted out of his contract today with the intention of renegotiating with us, I believe, and that's not 100%, but it is pretty much 99.9 since we drafted Bronny. I'm certain he's not going to be leaving his son here in LA. I just know better. That's not going to happen unless something goes catastrophically wrong, unprecedentedly catastrophically wrong. And so that's not going to happen. He's going to renegotiate a contract and hopefully takes enough so that he can be whole and still leave us with the ability to have like $12 million mid-level exception, I believe it is, or something like that. So I'd be very happy if he did that. I don't know if it's in his best interest financially or not. Who knows? I don't count people's dollars. I'd imagine he's a billionaire, but you know, this is capitalism we're talking about, man. What's too much money? What's enough money? I don't know. What are people's bills? I don't know. What are people's goals? I don't know. But what I can say is, him leaving some money on the table in this situation is what I've asked him to consider and study the process of that and what could be possible. And I'm happy that it seems that he's doing that. So as we move forward, now we take a look at what the Lakers' options are, and from what I understand, there's a list of guys, 3 names that I've heard that the Lakers really want to have take a look at. James Harden, Klay Thompson, and Jonas Valanciunas are the names that are going around right now. I would not be surprised if that list expands a bit too. I would not be surprised if somebody else doesn't want to take that money if they don't. DeMar DeRozan is a guy that I think he's up for his free agency. And he wanted to take a pay cut to be a Laker 2 years ago. And I thought it was 3 years ago, actually, before he got paid from the Bulls. Years later, I don't know why that wouldn't still be the case. So, although it doesn't look likely that he's going to do that, because I think the market will still be kind to him and pay him more than what we would be able to offer him. He's been in Bulls purgatory for 3 years now, and he made a lot of money there, had some good years there individually, but the team has been awful, the front office is awful. And I really genuinely believe he wants to be home and not with the Clippers, although that's probably what will be available to him, especially if Paul George is leaving. So, yeah, that's something I'm paying attention to. I think DeMar DeRozan really wants to be a Laker. He's always wanted to be a Laker. And if Klay doesn't want to take that, or if Klay wants to go in a different direction, I would not at all be surprised if DeMar DeRozan says, hey, I'll take the 12. That would not shock me at all. So I'd happy to have any of these guys. You know, they're all LA guys. Not Valanciunas, but Valanciunas is somebody we need based on necessity for a big man. And although I've been on camera just as recently as yesterday saying I don't think he has much left, the reality is we don't have much left in terms of options. So if he wants to be a Laker, that's not somebody I'm pushing away under the circumstances. I was assuming we may be able in the draft to be able to get a big, but the draft board shook up. We got Dalton Connect. I'm extremely happy about that. No regrets, no setbacks, no thoughts about any mistake or anything like that. That's a great thing. We just got to adjust, and now Valanciunas is somebody we definitely think we can use. So you just adjust. You adjust your mindset. But you know, I think at the end of the day, my mindset is I would be happy to have Klay Thompson in this situation. James Harden is somebody I think could really help us in a different way than Klay. He may be more productive than Klay at this point. Also an LA guy, we respect that. The thing with James Harden is he's shown that he can quit, that his mind isn't always on it. Hell of a basketball player, but a lot of what he does was predicated on the whistle going his way, his speed and his big, size, being able to get to the rim, get to the line. He's kind of morphed into a facilitator. I still think he's a hell of a basketball player, still a Hall of Famer, MVP, put up some of the best numbers of the era he was in ever. Just some of the best lines I've ever seen were done by James Harden. So I'm not turning him away, but I just think at this point, the history tells me that if he's unhappy, he's going to quit. If he's unhappy, he's going to start doing all types of antics, like putting on fat suits and all types of stuff. His focus tends to sway and his come playoff time, he doesn't show up. And if I'm going to be moving on from D'Angelo Russell, I can't bring in another guy who I could argue is probably going to be having the same issue, which is not showing up in the playoffs. James Harden has consistently had that issue. And you couple that with his defensive issues in the past, I'm just hesitant to bring him in if a Klay Thompson or a DeMar DeRozan is on the board for me. I don't think any of these people are in their prime. If I'm going to choose which one is probably going to do the most for us right now, it would probably be DeMar, because he's still playing at a high level. I think Klay is somebody we got to, he's the nickname is Washed Klay, and we're not confused about that. He's had some horrible shooting performances over the last couple years. And, you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here saying that I think we're getting the Klay Thompson that Steph Curry's had next to him. But what I do believe is when you bring in a shooter like that, even if he's not having the greatest shooting season, he still creates so much space for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The gravity, the respect that you must pay to Klay from behind the arc is going to give us more space than we've ever had. And if people want to leave Klay alone, you better hope he's having an 0 for 10 night like he did in the playoffs, for which we haven't forgotten. Closeout game. But he can also be a guy that scores 30 and a quarter if he's hot. And is arguably the fourth or third best three-point shooter to ever play the game. So that's why I'm of the mindset that I would like to take a chance at Washed Klay with low expectations for him shooting well on most nights. But those nights where he pops, we're going to win. Those nights where he goes for 25, 30 points, 6 for 7 from behind the arc, we're going to win. And I don't think the expectation should be that he's going to be the Hall of Fame version of himself, but more so Washed Klay. And Washed Klay is still a Hall of Fame shooter. Washed Klay is still somebody who thinks defense. Even if he can't execute defense very well, he's going to have moments where he's going to defend well, especially in half-court settings. I think there are going to be moments where you're going to see him be a positive on the defensive end because he's naturally gifted defensively. It's just the injuries have stolen that from him. So it's sort of understanding that he's going to be a connective piece on the defensive end. He's going to be able to read things on the defensive end in ways that James Harden has never been gifted in. James is just not gifted on the defensive side of the ball. We know that. He's improved, though. But Klay was once one of the best defensive players in the game. So Klay Thompson, for my money, man, like I said, DeMar DeRozan is just somebody I have in my head. It's probably will come out of nowhere and eventually add his name to the list of people who probably want to play for the Lakers right now. But that's not what's being rumored. That's just me talking. So what is being rumored is the Lakers showing interest in James Harden and Klay Thompson, or Klay Thompson and Valanciunas as well. I don't see a world where we can get all those people. They would have to take very significant, ridiculously low pay cuts for that to be possible. And I don't think we should ask them to do that. I don't. But it's one of those situations where I'd welcome those Hall of Famers in with low expectations for the production they're going to give us, more so interested in the gravity they can provide and the tutelage they can provide. I think of a guy like Klay Thompson being a great mentor for Dalton Knecht, a great mentor for Max Christie, great mentor for Jalen Hood-Schifino. These guys are going to look at him wide-eyed. LeBron James is already somebody looking at wide-eyed because that's the king. But that's a splash brother right there. You know what I mean? And so it brings a different type of aura to the situation to where on one, you're looking at LeBron James, and then you look to the left of you and you see one of the Splash Brothers. It's like, for our young players, that's a really big deal. I'm telling you, when you talk about the Tampa championships that those two have won, that's a really big deal. That's a hell of a lot of finals appearances between Klay and LeBron James for all of the people involved. And then you think about the nature of what Klay Thompson is as a shooter and the fact that we have J.J. Redick as the coach. You just love that opportunity for him to continue being coached by someone who knows what needs to be done for shooters. He's had that in Steve Kerr for a long time, and he's going to continue to have that here if he signs with the Lakers. And so this is a lot of good there, man. But for me, Klay Thompson is the guy I would choose because the success speaks for itself. the success speaks for itself. They've been to the finals, what, 7 times, 6 times or something like that? 4 championships? I mean, that's what we need in this locker room right now. That's what we need. And so if nothing else, yet another assistant coach type guy who can help the team. And I'll tell you, man, it really is the difference. I hate to be unfair to people who haven't won championships, but that really is the difference for me. A guy like Klay Thompson's been one of the spearheads of a dynasty. I want him on the team probably more so than I want a James Harden or Chris Paul who haven't won. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to for me. I can't speak for everybody else. DeMar DeRozan, those guys haven't won. So if they had been a part of that dynasty, then I would hold them at a different prestige even as they start to decline in production, because I think that experience holds enough weight in and of itself. Them 4 championships, they speak, man. They speak. They really, really talk for themselves. Just like they say money talks, them championships talk, man. And like I said, wash Klay, I hold at a different level than wash CP3, than maybe wash James Harden, because wash Klay is a 4-time NBA champion. You understand what I'm saying? So for the Los Angeles Lakers, that's a big deal. And plus, I mean, he's already Laker fam. When you look up in the rafters and you see the name Thompson, that's his pops. So it's a different vibe for him in regards to this organization, because to a point he should have always been here, really. When you think of the fact that we brought Bronny James to the Lakers for LeBron, bringing Michael Thompson's son to the Lakers at the same time, it just brings the right type of vibe to the situation, I think. It's a family affair. Everybody hates nepotism to a degree, but when you talk about what the Lakers are about, we're a family organization at the end of the day. Jeannie Buss was her father's daughter. That's what it is, you know. She's taking over. You got her brothers down there being scouts. If it's done correctly and everybody's qualified to do what they do, I don't see why they shouldn't have opportunities because they're related to somebody. You know what I'm saying? I think that can go 2 ways. Sometimes you're going to try to avoid people who are in your family that work so hard at the craft, so that you can hire somebody outside of your family for the court of public opinion, when the best qualified person may very well be your kin. You know what I'm saying? In some cases, because they've been around you and you've been closer to the business than anybody else has. So why wouldn't they be as qualified as necessary, rather than just bring somebody like myself who ain't never been around the Lakers? It looks better, but truth of the matter is, I ain't been close to this game all my life. I ain't been on the court like Michael Thompson's son has, watching the Lakers in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? It ain't. So for me, it's a little different. Maybe 90s, because I think Klay's probably a little younger than that. But he was around for some of the Lakers' success, and he was a little kid running around this arena in the Forum. So at the end of the day, I just think it's a good overall vibe to me. Bringing Klay Thompson to the situation this season, specifically for the family affair of all of this. I wanted us to get Cam Christie too, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, he went to them damn Clippers. Clippers are corny, so they always going to do stuff like that. But it's a family affair, man. So I think it's time to bring Michael's kid home. I really do. And I said it before the rumors came out. I said it, 3 days ago? That I would be happy to bring in Klay Thompson in a sign and trade for D'Angelo Russell, even though I do think D'Lo is a more productive player at this point. And getting rid of D'Lo takes away your ability to have a point guard on the floor, for which I think is very important for us. So if we can afford to not, if we can bring Klay in without having to do a sign and trade for D'Lo, I think that's a positive. And I'm telling y'all, man, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. D'Lo Russell is not somebody I'm just kicking to the curb. I got to make sure that the production he can provide is or the equivalent of such is coming back. I don't necessarily need him to be in the role that he's been, but you got to understand something that I haven't heard too many people say. D'Angelo Russell is a shooter. Who's coaching the team again? A shooter. We can't look at the production of D'Angelo Russell and the inconsistency of D'Angelo Russell or anyone else on this team over the last 2 years and think that we're going to see the same thing, because we're going to have an entirely different coach running the show, putting those players in the positions that he envisions are necessary for those players. So the production that you saw from so-and-so last year and year before ain't exactly what J.J. Redick about to do. I just think that J.J. Redick's going to put D'Angelo Russell in positions to have more of what he does best potentially be more of what we see. Because as a shooter, he know what to do with it. So that's my thing. I personally want to see what D'Angelo Russell looks like in a system where everybody can shoot around him. You're bringing in Dalton Knecht. That makes D'Angelo Russell's job easier. That's some more space for him too. That's more assists for him too, because those are shooters that are going to hit shots. I'd love to see what Max Christie looks like in this system, especially now that he's developed for the last couple years. Although he didn't get full development on the court, I think his shot has come around mostly. He should be ready to be a nice catch and shoot player. So now you got Dalton over there, you got Max over there. Hopefully you can bring in Klay. That's a hell of a lot more spacing than we were able to provide with Darvin Ham. I don't know what we're going to do with Taurean Prince, but I don't think he will be utilized the same way if we bring him back. I think he's just a more plethora of shooting. So we went from a team that only attempted maybe 33-point shots to a team that's probably going to up that by about 8 or 9 shots a night. I can totally see the Lakers shooting about 35 to 43s a night, just off the sake of our personnel. So I would be lying to all of you guys if I said that I'm as eager to move on from D'Angelo Russell without seeing what he looks like in this system. I kind of want to see what he looks like in it. But I have a vision for D'Angelo Russell as a 2. I don't necessarily want him to be my point guard. And as I've said this many times, my vision for D'Lo is starting/backup 2. He can play the 1, which is a luxury, but I don't think I would use him much differently than we use Austin Reeves. As mainly a 2, because I don't necessarily love the pace that he plays with when he has control of the offense. It can be effective for him running pick and rolls especially, but it tends to be a bit stagnant. It can potentially turn a fast-paced situation into a slower-paced situation where the defense can kind of hone into what it is that you're doing. I don't think that's good to be in too often. It's good for certain plays, but it's not good to make that your normal pace. And so that's something I don't necessarily need. I want someone who's more fluid of a pace creator to pop, get the ball to where it needs to go, get to the line easier rather than kind of slow and methodical, keeping somebody on their hip and then trying to go for the layup for the foul call. I think that his style should only be utilized sparingly as a point guard. That's what I really think. And when he has the ball in his hands, it's really about him getting to his spots and taking his jumpers. And if they brick, he can look up and be a 2 for 8, 2 for 9, 2 for 10. I want to eliminate all that by having somebody else setting up the offense and getting the ball to him in circumstances where he can then be a hockey assist creator or the finisher of a play or something like that. I would like him to be in the break in situations where he has the ball in his hands when he wants to pull up for a 3-point shot when people are playing off of him in a fast break. They think he's running to the rim. He pulls up from 3 when they're sagging off of him. That's the type of stuff I like seeing D'Angelo do in transition. But I would much rather a more fast-paced, fluid ball handler from end to end, taking care of my offense. And then to be able to audible into what he does when it makes sense to me based on the defense. So that's kind of my vision for D'Angelo Russell. I never thought he was utilized correctly. I always thought people wanted him to be your primary point guard when he was drafted to be a shooting guard / point guard. And I just don't think he's been put in positions to be both as frequently as necessary to really utilize all of his strengths. Probably best utilized in Brooklyn. When he had Spencer Dinwiddie next to him, and Spencer was controlling more of the offense and he was playing off ball more. So for me, I don't want to get rid of D'Angelo Russell because I don't think D'Angelo Russell's been utilized properly. People have been asking D'Angelo Russell to be a damn point guard, and I have a feeling JJ Redick may have a better vision for D'Angelo Russell. We just need to bring the point guard that we need to us. Removing D'Lo and what he can do from your team is not a positive. I think that's what's getting lost in all of this. So D'Lo can't show up in the playoffs and he can't play point guard. Yeah, but he is a streaky, talented shooter who makes pinpoint passes. You don't need him off of your team. You just need to bring somebody in who can do what it is you want him to do so he can do other stuff. You have to reimagine his piece. And I've yet to see a coach do that. And, I feel like I'm not an expert on D'Angelo Russell, but I scouted him greatly when we were paying attention to him in draft day because I knew we had a high pick, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to draft him over Porzingis and whoever the hell else that was. What was some boy named Okafor? So I paid a great deal of attention to all three of their back then. I was watching a lot of their highlights. I studied D'Angelo Russell in the morning of the draft. I knew I wanted D'Angelo Russell on the team because I thought someday with his talent level, he might be able to win MVP. Now, granted, I was way off when it comes to what he's been able to accomplish, but the talent, natural ability is there. You just can't ask him to do too much, and you certainly can't have him be controlling your offense because he's an inconsistent basketball player. It's his weakness. But for me, I'm not going to forget how streaky he can be. I haven't forgotten he could put 44 points up on the board just as recently as 6 months ago. Me kicking him off the team just because he didn't play well in a couple playoff games, that's not best utilizing what it is he is. I mean, I don't need him to be who he is in the playoffs. Why? Because a lot of what goes wrong for him has already been described in the picking his spots and missing shots. He picks a shot, misses a shot, picks a spot, misses a shot. Next thing you know, he's 2 for 8. You've had a bad playoff series. But I don't never need him in those situations in the damn playoffs. I need the ball in somebody else's hands as a point guard, creating for opportunities for him and everybody else around him. And then when you couple that with the gravity that a Dalton Connect and the volume scoring that a Dalton Connect is going to command, he's going to need his 7, 8, 9, 10 shots he develops. D'Angelo Russell has less of a responsibility to score the ball and take some of those shots that he has no business taking. Trying to work his way in the rhythm to make up for the scoring that wasn't present. It's going to be present now because you got that piece in place in Dalton. So it's like you have to reimagine what you expect D'Angelo Russell to do and then remove the responsibilities for him that should not be in his hands. And if a coach can figure that out, they can win with D'Angelo Russell. But you got to figure that out. He's not a pure point guard. Period. He can be the point guard, but you want to be able to audible out of that. No different than Zach Edey in the post. You want to be able to go to that, but you got to know when to audible out of it. And you have to be able to. And so that's how I look at D'Angelo Russell, man. And his defense did improve last year. We saw some good things from him defensively that we hadn't seen in the previous year. He was healthier this year than he was in the previous year with the calluses in the foot, all that. So, as I said earlier, I ain't changed my mind. If a good trade comes along for D'Angelo Russell, then obviously I'm willing to listen to match the salaries. I feel the same way about Rui Hachimura. I feel the same way about several other players. I just think that we need to upgrade. But if I'm unable to upgrade, it's not doom and gloom. D'Angelo Russell is a high-level scorer in this league and a high-level assist man in this league with the ability to shoot the ball in ways that most people can't be taught how to. So, no, I'm not a fool. I'm not a fool. There's some things that D'Angelo Russell can do that you cannot teach, man. And because the market doesn't recognize his talent, he's always going to be a more valuable asset in our hands rather than when it's time to trade him. He's got more realized value than what the market will ever allow you to see. So as long as he's playing at a higher level on an $18 million contract, that's a good thing for you, the holder of that contract, which is exactly how I would sell it in trade too. Somebody has to bite on that, and it doesn't seem like they want to, so we might be stuck with this player. Our job now is to bring ourselves that point guard so we can take those responsibilities out of his hands, put him off the ball a bit more, and draw up plays for him to be able to do the things that he does, because he doesn't always need the ball in his hands. He is a nice off-ball shooter, nice off-ball guard. So that's really what I want to say, man. I think Dalton Connect, in theory, should open up a lot of things for a lot of people just by being on the floor and as dynamic as he is. When you consider what Taurean Prince did last year for us, I expect Dalton to do that at a higher level. When he gets comfortable, he's a rookie, so I don't want to be stupid about things. But when he gets comfortable, he should be able to hit some of those same shots and be more dynamic driving at the rim than Taurean. So that's what it is, man. More athletic player than Torian. So I think Torian's probably a better defender. I think Torian has more defensive intangibles than Dalton does. But overall, Dalton should be a much more capable and better basketball player than Torian. And so that's really what it is, man. I don't think people are ready. I don't think people understand what gravity you can have on the floor when you bring a shooter like that and a pure scorer like that to your situation, because we haven't had it. We've had spacing issues and things of that nature that we just don't necessarily have to have now that we've brought this particular type of player to our situation. So I think everybody's role changes just off of the strength that this guy, if he's good, what I think he should be, is going to be able to have nights halfway through the season where he's going for 30 and higher as he continues to develop. So you'll see what I'm talking about. We'll see. I encourage everybody to go check out highlights on Dalton Connect. Go check out old D'Angelo Russell from Ohio State. Back when he was drafted, you see what it is that I have in mind. He was always a 2/1. Always. And he was never just a pure 1 and that's it. The problem that we had last year, honestly, is we just had a coach that did not have much of an imagination. That's what it is. Darvin Ham didn't have an imagination. Not for a whole lot of stuff, man. And so you kind of just left players out to their own devices and didn't even utilize them properly in certain situations. Stuff didn't work and he kept on running it, exposing people's weaknesses. A lot of that stuff can't be looked at as a deficiency that you would expect to see from this year's team, because he got a different guy down there maneuvering all the chess pieces, you know, and one that I think is just flat out better in that way than Darvin is, man. So that's what it is, man. JJ's gonna have to show us that he is that, and just off the sheer nature of what we've seen in regards to conversations about what he wants to do and what type of basketball plays that he wants to run and the stuff that he respects, I expect our team to be better, just off the strength of what he's likely going to want to do. So that's what it is, man. I don't want to trade D'Angelo Russell and then find out that I miss what he does, bringing in somebody that's not going to be on the floor very much, or somebody who's going to be missing shots left and right, not as prone to be as effective as D'Angelo possibly could be. You know what I mean? You bring in the wrong piece and suddenly you have a different team. And my worry is you're going to bring in somebody that's not going to be able to do half of what D'Angelo would have done if you would have just let him be a part of the situation. That's what I'm concerned about. That's what I'm concerned about. And given the fact that he is playing for his free agency this year, it is his responsibility to play up his contract. I think we could get a good first half of the year out of D'Angelo Russell if he can stay healthy. I think this is because he's going to have to prove himself. And again, we're going to be looking at whether or not we can trade him at the deadline because he's an expiring contract. But just like every other situation with that, he's going to want to come back to the Lakers. So, I mean, that's what it really comes down to. I just think at this point, if you can't find the best trade for this guy, or if you have to attach picks to get him to wherever he's going, I'd do better holding on to him. It's cheaper for me to keep, so to speak. So that's my point of view on the D'Angelo Russell thing. I'm glad we retained his value. I'm glad he chose to opt in. And now I want us to make good use of every coin of our value. Every coin, man. That's my point of view. And I'm not damn certain that just keeping what we have without doing too much isn't the best way to do that. When you start talking about how teams want to fleece us for every damn trade we make. So, yeah, that's the thought. Very thankful that LeBron James appears to be willing to take this pay cut. I do understand that there's a time limit maybe on his willingness to do that. I think he wants to do that by the end of the week before something in regards to the Olympics or something like that. That's what Trevor Lane was expressing to us. I only got a half understanding of that deadline. But basically, we are on the clock for presenting to him where that money he's going to be leaving on the table is actually going. So that's what's being reported. And then to a point, I would tell LeBron, just like everybody else, I'd tell, the market don't dictate things on your clock, man. It really don't. And that information being out in the public is something that can be utilized against your GM. Because if I know James only gave you 5 minutes, then I'm going to use up 4.5. You see what I'm saying? Try to put pressure on you to do something you shouldn't do. So it's like some stuff does not benefit the person you're giving the money to. If you want them to best utilize the money you're leaving on the table, then you got to have an idea of what's in their best interest so that they can best use your money. You know what I mean? Properly. If you're going to leave it on the table, the last thing you want to tell the public is they got 5 minutes or else I'm going to snatch it away. That's leverage the guy on the other side that we're supposed to be doing this deal with can use against us. So I just didn't really understand why that would be out there. That ain't how we do it, man. So that's really what it is. I think that's information I shouldn't have. If there is a deadline, the last person who should know about it is every damn body, literally. So that's really what it is. I just think some stuff is best left unsaid. But nevertheless, that's what's being said. So hopefully that puts the requisite amount of pressure on our front office to execute a deal that LeBron will be happy with, or maybe he just decides not to take a pay cut if he doesn't think you can get a guy. But if you spread out that time frame from which to get a guy, it might be more effective in us getting the guy. That's all I'm saying. But it is what it is, man. I think the chances of us getting Klay Thompson are pretty damn high. I think that's high. Now, granted, he could use us just like Dan Hurley did and try to negotiate a different deal with another team or with the Warriors, try to see how serious they are about him bouncing. But I think they're ready to move on, man. And look, as I've said many times, I don't really like some of the moves that Mike Dunleavy has made since taking over the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers take care of their stars, man. And I think that's the whole point of all of this LeBron stuff. Bronny James, JJ Redick. Jeannie wants the reputation of someone who's willing to go above and beyond for people she believes in. And people that she feels are superstars who can do excellent work for her franchise. She will go above and beyond. That's the whole point. Sometimes against what all of us think makes sense, but her bigger picture is to send out the smoke signals that I'm the owner that will do right by you, even if everybody else thinks I'm crazy for doing it. She did it with Kobe and the $40 million, and she's doing it with Bron and Bronny and then all the JJ stuff and everything else. So 6 years from now, that investment and that smoke signal could eventually land us Wembanyama, could eventually land us Anthony Edwards, could eventually land us whoever the star will be of the day. And I think we'll be happy that she took this stance. Because even though it makes us look like we're doing too much for a superstar, the superstars are watching. And so I'll see if Klay Thompson signs with the Lakers. And I think if he does, I think that's a sign that message has been sent to him and anybody else. That the Lakers are going to take care of you, man. While the Golden State Warriors don't want to pay you your money, but will acquire a $30 million contract for Chris Paul that they're going to just turn around and try to trade on some stupid stuff. We're going to bring you in. And you see how we're doing with LeBron. We're going to take care of you. And so that's the message. And I think it's going to yield some positive results for our franchise in the long run. So that's something I've been thinking about for the last hour or so. But anyway, man, we got to see, man. We got to see how it goes. I think Bronny is also one of those young players that I'd love to see Klay Thompson next to. Kind of be someone else that Bronny can look at and be in awe of, who's done a lot of winning. Because at the end of the day, LeBron James, but throughout Bronny's childhood, Klay Thompson and his dad and Steph Curry, that's what the NBA's been all about. So I really like that type of environment for young Bronny and the rest of our young players, but especially young Bronny. It's all about winning championships, man. And you do the hard work, and you put in the effort to hone in your skills, and you contribute to the bigger picture. And you see what your dad got with the rings there. You see what Klay and Steph put together with the rings. Everybody has to play their part. And then you look at a guy like Robert Horry, who has 7 NBA championship rings. He wasn't the most talented guy in the world. Look at Derek Fisher. That's who I want Bronny to start paying attention to. People like Derek Fisher. Not everybody can be your dad, but many people can be Derek Fisher. Many people can be like Robert Horry. You just got to know how to fit in, play your role, execute properly, and keep the main thing the main thing. Sometimes you get the right stars around you, you playing your role well enough, and you're a part of something special. You know what I mean? So that's what's on my mind for young Bronny. I would not at all be disappointed in him for not becoming his father, so long as he plays his role and puts in the work to take care of his body, puts in the work to take care of what's responsible for him to do. Because there's many people who've been ridiculously successful who didn't have all the talent of a superstar, but they complimented superstars well, they listened, they pay attention, and they played their role. And so that's what I want to see for Bronny James, man. Not every, you can be like Derek Fisher, you can be like some of these other guys who weren't superstars, but collected a lot of success in this league, man. So that's my message to Bronny James. But anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say, man. I'm going to get back to what I've been doing all day, which is drafting fantasy football teams, even though it's a little early for that. I honestly just willing to take the risk because I felt like doing it today. So that's been pretty much how my whole day has went. But I did want to stop in here and give you guys the information that I have in regards to our team. And there was one more thing. Of course, Cam Reddish opted in to his contract as well. So our roster's forming. I do expect that we're probably going to trade Cam Reddish if at all possible. I'm not surprised by Cam Reddish. That wasn't a suspenseful thing for me because I don't think he had much of a market in this league. So if he didn't opt in, probably wasn't going to be in the league. So it was never really suspenseful there. And it's only like $2 million. So, I don't know if he'll be able to crack the rotation this year. I think he had an especially close relationship with Darvin Ham based on his previous time in Atlanta with Darvin, just like Taurean Prince. So he was able to show exactly what he could do last year. Unfortunately, he didn't thrive as much as we needed him to, in and out of the lineup with injuries. I think our team rushed him back sometimes throughout the course of the season where he probably should have been resting a little extended period of time. I just thought that he was misutilized last year completely. And so it's quite unfortunate because I don't know how many more chances he had in this league. And it just is what it is. But he will be opting in, so at least he'll have an opportunity to be on a roster this year, potentially, unless he's waived, which ain't to be ruled out if he's traded. But at least he gets his money, So I like Cam Reddish. I like what he did on the defensive end. Offensively, I like how he drives at the rim, lays the ball up. But I have my doubts that now our rotation has more forwards and more young prospects and moving up Max Christie. I just don't think there's going to be much of a role from Cam Reddish this year. So I may be wrong. We'll see what comes about. But I want to see the Lakers just focus on free agency right now. If we can find a deal for Gabe Vincent, I think that would be something I would love to see us do. Nothing against Gabe, but I don't think he really can play the point guard role as well as I want him to. You're looking at him more as a two guard that's undersized, injury issues with the knee, contract isn't the best. We have enough problems as is with our books. If I really want to move anybody at all, it's probably him. But I'm not willing to attach any picks to do it. And I think if he gets healthy and his best self, he may be a part of a nice core of role players too. I just prefer to get a bad contract off my books, and that's probably the one that I think is the worst for us at this point. So that's really what it is, man. That is pretty much what I have to say, man. Go Lakers at all times. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.